Mortal Kombat is a martial arts film based on the world-famous video game of the same name. It serves as a reboot of the original 1995 film. Let's see if it holds up. We open with a flashback to 17th century Japan. It's here where we set up the movie's main conflict, which is Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero actually comes to Scorpion's village to kill him, his family, and to wipe out his entire bloodline. This leads to a hell of a fight that really showcases these two characters as unstoppable warriors. We're very early on in the movie. The action, the fight choreography, all that stuff, really good. Next, we meet our main protagonist, Cole Young, a lousy MMA fighter who just happens to have a birthmark in the shape of a dragon. He and his family are being attacked by Sub-Zero before Jack steps in and saves them. It's here he lets him know what his birthmark actually means, and that it's not a birthmark at all. Cole actually leaves Jax to fight Sub-Zero alone while he goes and meet up with Sonya. It's here where she explains everything about Mortal Kombat to him, and we also find out that she has Kano held hostage. The three of them decide to group up and they set out to find Raiden's temple. And it's here where we see Liu Kang and Kung Lao. It's not long we're at the temple before we meet Shang Tsung, the film's main bad guy. Apparently he's trying to break the rules and kill all of Earth's champions before the tournament can even start. From here, the movie turns into our heroes trying to unlock their Arcana, which is just another word for their powers from the video games. We get a couple of training montages before eventually they all just split up and fight the bad guys one-on-one. That is until we get to the last person, Sub-Zero. After using Cole's family as bait to lure him into a trap, Sub-Zero almost kills him until Scorpion shows up. After years of waiting for revenge, Scorpion finally gets to kill Sub-Zero. The movie ends with Raiden telling our fighters to go and find more champions, which leads Cole to travel to Los Angeles, which can only mean Johnny Cage. This was a really enjoyable film. It wasn't perfect by any means. I feel like they delivered on what was expected, but I still feel like this movie was lacking a little bit in some key departments. There were certain times where this movie felt rushed, but also felt like nothing was happening. I like this idea of what happens before the tournament, what happens before Mortal Kombat. Seeing all these characters kind of come together, kind of be placed in these positions we're so used to seeing them in, was kind of cool. But at the same time, it really makes the movie feel unfinished. You spend all this time gathering these champions to go fight in this tournament, and the tournament never comes. You almost feel kind of cheated. Like it feels like a tie-in for a movie. And of course, with a movie like this, you're gonna get cheesy dialogue. And it took me a minute to figure out what it reminded me of. And it reminds me of bad anime dialogue. That dialogue that's just people in a room kind of screaming at each other. That's what this movie kind of felt like. People just talking to kind of get information out. There were a few one-liners that didn't really land, a couple of jokes that weren't really funny, but overall, it was nothing too distracting. I never felt like I was watching a poorly written movie. Just not a great one. A lot of stuff does deliver though. The Kano character is easily the best character of this movie. He steals the show. Almost all the best lines of this movie are his, but it's not really enough to save the film. And that's kind of my general thoughts about Mortal Kombat. There's great stuff here and there, but for the most part, it's kind of lacking. It almost feels unfinished. There's some things you can tell they focused a lot on, like the fight choreography. All the fights in this movie are awesome. The CGI looked great, all the powers, the ice, the fire. Goro looked awesome compared to that gray Ninja Turtle from the first movie. There's some scenes in this movie that look directly ripped out of the video game, like they just took the level and then filmed it. The costumes are great. It's a very good movie to look at. There was a lot of good, but there was also a lot of whatever. There was a lot of cool shit in this movie, but there's a lot of dull moments too. And I feel like that's kind of leaving it right in the middle for me. And that's why I'm gonna have to officially give Mortal Kombat a C+.